everyone! It's that time again. Welcome back to hanging out with Lisa, drinking tea, and playing Hakuoki, where we woo the old Japanese samurai who are becoming obsolete slowly by the westernization of Japan, and are somewhat turning into vampires as well, maybe? We'll see. So yes, before we get too underway, let's thank our founders of the feast. So let's thank Yev, Nomad, Doomsayer, DLP, and BACKBLAZE for keeping everything running. Also want to thank DM in the chat for keeping an eye on us and making sure everything's running. Good times. So, I have my tea. It's in a cauldron today. It's blueberry, so we'll see what that does for me. And yeah, let's play the game. Would help to turn the remote on. It's probably the first step when playing a game. And this Bluetooth, huh? There you are. Continue. Let's do this. December 1866. I was sweeping a section of the compounds despite being nearly frozen to the bone. Well, that should do it. I wanted to help out as much as I could, but since they still refused to let me out without an escort, there wasn't a great deal that I could do. Still, I helped clean our home, and that felt good. Hopefully, they'd like it too. Kondo always is happy. Cleaning, I see. You certainly are hard at work. Oh, hello, Kondo. It's really gotten cold lately, hasn't it? Yes, it has indeed. I've been in Kyoto a while now, but I still can't get used to this weather. He rubbed his hands together and blew on them, in a mostly vain attempt to warm them. I've picked up a bunch of dead leaves, so I was thinking about roasting potatoes later. Would you like some? They'll warm you up. Kondo gave me a little wry smile. Roasted potatoes, huh? I used to enjoy that. A long time ago. He acts like he's 80. Oh. I flushed with embarrassment. Kondo was a busy man. As management of the Shinsengumi was not easy. A man like that didn't have time for roasting potatoes. You've been really busy lately, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. Huh? Oh, right. Well, if I'm busy, that means that the Shinsengumi is needed. It's an honor. He is literally the most wholesome, sweet man ever. True. In the last several weeks, Kondo and Hijikata had left the temple often to go meet with important shogunate officials. They scarcely had time to breathe, let alone relax. At that moment, almost as if my thoughts had summoned him, Hijikata appeared. There you are, Kondo. Oh, Toshi. I love how he calls him Toshi. Where were you? I was looking for you. They've chosen the next shogun. It's going to be Lord Yoshinobu Hitotsubashi. Him, huh? Well, no one else could probably do it, so he should just buckle down and accept the position instead of making a fuss about it. Toshi, that is not the way we should look at it, and speak of someone who's becoming the new shogun. They say the man is so wise that he is said to be the incarnate of Lord Ieyasu. Forget it. Doesn't matter who the shogun is to us anyway. We're just here to fight for him. That's right. If we do our best, that means the shogun and the shogunate are safe and secure. Damn, Toshi. How wise is he? Ooh, nice and hot. Only 20 days after Lord Yoshinobu had officially become inaugurated as the new shogun, the emperor suddenly passed away. It was especially hard on the emperor's younger sister, Kazunomiya. Even I have to repeat them a second time sometimes. Who had been married to the Lord Iemochi, and was intended to be a symbol of imperial unification, but everyone on both sides was shocked by his death. He was succeeded by the imperial prince, a young boy of only 15 years. In the turmoil, the activities of the Choshu domain went uninvestigated. The entire country of Japan found itself thrust into rapid motion. Oh. I cleared a chapter. Chapter 4. April 1867. That's my boy. It was my Hesuke. April 1867. Oh, hey, look, Okita. Cherry blossoms have bloomed. They're magnificent. Look. The seasons changed and spring came. Kyoto was filled with the cherry blossoms, and the whole city took on a festive atmosphere. Surrounded by the gentle cheer of spring, my footsteps felt somehow lighter. It's getting warmer out, and it finally looks like a nice day. So I get that you're all giddy and stuff, but it'd be nice if you acted with a little more decency right now. I gasped and turned around to look at my surroundings. The townsmen were looking at me dubiously as I expressed my excitement over the weather. Okay, I'll be careful. Yeah, you can't act like a fawning little girl in your little boy clothes. The men will know. Maybe I was spacing out because things had quieted down a bit, and I let my guard down. Hey, Okita?
Nani?
Nani? So cute. In that narrow alleyway over there, there seems to be a few ronin that saw us and snuck away. Don't waste your energy on them. They're small potatoes. Really? If they were Imperial Nationalist guys, then they wouldn't just run off like that. They'd be much more confident. The guys who take off like that when we show up are almost always just small-time punks. I see. But, honestly, I don't think there are any ronin left in Kyoto with the balls to start something with us. The Shinsengumi's gotten pretty famous around Kyoto, hasn't it? That uniform stands out a lot, too. Well, could be infamous, depending on who you ask. When the men wore their uniforms, people seemed to notice them at first glance, which at first probably seemed like a good thing. But their uniform had become a symbol. But there was some argument among the Shinsengumi about if they should adopt a new one. Some people, such as Ito, felt that the uniform should be changed because it wasn't fashionable. Is Ito back from the Imperial territories yet? Yeah, I think so. Can't say I'd have minded if he'd just stayed out there, though. Agreed, Okita. Aw, don't be like that. You feel like that, too. Like, don't chastise Okita. Like, fucking Ito sucks. Just saying. He went to go recruit some of his friends and acquaintances, right? Yeah, just more of those thugs. That's what he says, but I gotta wonder how far he really went. I didn't hear the details, but I heard he went to more palaces than he originally planned. Places. If he put in all that effort, then he must really care about the Shinsengumi, right? That's what you think? Hello, Draven Havoc! Welcome, welcome! It is Otome Wednesday this week. Am I wrong? No, not really. Chigai desu. He said it in a suggestive way. Yeah, that's the creepy dude making out with his brother. Well, not making out with his brother, but he calls everyone, like, darling or whatever. It's kind of weird and creepy. His brother's really pretty, though. At least there's that. Kondo's nice, too. He should just kill Ito. Oh my gosh, Soji. You really shouldn't, Okita. How could you joke about killing one of your companions? A companion, huh? He scoffed, then fell silent. Ever since he'd first arrived, Okita and the rest had never seemed to like Ito much. But when he said it out loud in public, it still surprised me. I glanced around to make sure no one had been paying attention. Oh! There, in the crowd. A face I'd seen before. Yeah, your own fucking face. You looked in a mirror? I stopped walking. Kaoru? The face that looked back could easily have been mine. There was no way I could have ever mistaken that face. But no sooner than I had spotted her, she disappeared, melting into the crowd. Kaoru! Killer. Hey! He made a grab for my arm, but I'd already moved out of his reach. I might get in trouble for it, but if I didn't go quickly, I'd lose her. Sorry, Okita, there's something I have to do! I caught a glimpse of his confused face as I ducked into the crowd. How many times do I have to tell her not to run off without permission? Why can't she look at this from my point of view? Oh, Okita. I ran through the crowd as fast as I could, bobbing and weaving around citizens going about their business, until at last I caught up to her. You're... She was Kaoru, no mistake. What's the matter? You seem to be out of breath. Sorry for surprising you, that is. That is how a ninja kidnaps you. Kaoru, do you remember me? Yes, you were with the Shinsengumi. I remember you. May I ask you something? My, what is it? I gulped. I knew I had to choose my words carefully when asking her. One of the Shinsengumi saw a girl who looked like me at Sanjo Ohashi Bridge a while ago. Could that have been you? I don't know. I do go by Sanjo Ohashi fairly often. But if I were there, what would have been the problem? Oh, I was embarrassed for asking her what seemed to be an irrelevant question, but her eyes thinned. Perhaps what you truly wanted to ask me is whether I've been there at night. Am I right? Ah! Could it be? If it was an autumn night... Sorry. If it was an autumn night and you got in the Shinsengumi's way, then you and I are gonna... Then you and I are gonna need to have a little talk. I don't want to give away all the details, but it ends with your death. Oh, Okita. Oh, Okita. I hadn't realized he'd caught up with me so quickly. Oh, you're Okita from the Shinsengumi. Thank you for helping me the other day. She bowed, but Okita didn't even seem to notice. So, you gonna answer the question? Where were you that night? Okita wore the same half-smile he always did, but his body was tight as a bowstring, ready to have his blade in hand at a moment's notice. My death? Please, don't say such scary things like that. Lots of the people pass by Sanjo Ohashi during the day. At night, though, I don't go near it, because of the notice board stuff. I can't believe you'd suspect me just because my face happens to look like someone else's. She sadly looked down, and I rushed to shake my head. Oh, of course, I understand. I'm so sorry for asking something so rude. I guess it really wasn't her. I felt embarrassed for even doubting her for a second, so I apologized. Man, you are so easy. Just like that, you're going to believe her? Even if she was the culprit, what makes you think she'd be like, oh, that's right, I did do it? Well, why do you trust her so easily? Is it because she looks like you? Or because she's a girl? I didn't have an answer. Kaoru then took one step back. Can I go now? I have somewhere to be. Excuse me. Kaoru! She turned and ducked away, disappearing back into the crowd. Had I done the right thing, I wondered, in covering for her? I was pondering whether or not I should give chase again when I heard Okita begin to cough. Oh no! I'm not gonna fake cough for you guys. Oh, Okita, are you okay? The consumption! Okita? Stay back! As I stepped toward him, he threw out his hand and twisted his face upward to glare at me. I'm fine. So just stay there, okay? His pretty green eyes. It was the sheer force of his personality that stopped me, not just his words. For a little while he coughed, as if his lungs were going to collapse. Eventually his coughing slowed, then began to subside. I'm also not panting for you. Okita could do that by himself. His cough finally ended, and he wiped his sweat and looked up. Okita, is something wrong? Like what? I mean, why don't we find somewhere to rest? You don't look too well. Oh, I was just tired. I mean, you did make me run all the way here. He's so good at making it your fault. And besides, we're in the middle of a round. We have no time to rest. But, no buts. I'm fine. Now, about that girl, Kaoru. Asking her about the thing with the notice board was important. I agree with you. But even... No, because of how important that is, you shouldn't have run off on your own like that. What if she had been an enemy of ours? What if she had accomplices hidden nearby? Could you have handled it alone? Well... Did you even consider that possibility? That she'd planned to lure you here? There's not many people here. No one would notice if you screamed. It's a great spot for an ambush, you know. Oh, Okita. You're right. She hadn't tried to attack me, but Okita was right. Next time, I might not be so lucky. I could have easily run right into a trap. You need to be more careful, alright? I can take care of you, but without me around, you're just a useless kid. I gripped my fists and looked down. Sorry. I felt bad causing him extra stress, so I apologized and he sighed. Man, I'm not the type to lecture either. Stop being so timid. You can rely on us when you need to. I've gotten pretty used to saving your ass by now. A couple more times isn't going to mean much. He let out a snort of laughter. Oh, Okita. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, I lay awake thinking about what had happened. I couldn't forget what Okita had said. A useless kid. He was right. Compared to the captains, no, even compared to the weakest Shinsengumi foot soldier, I was pathetic. I had been lying there, staring at the ceiling. My actions today were no doubt reckless. I mean, If this happened a little while ago, I'm sure I would have been killed. No questions asked. The fact that I got away with just a lecture shows that they're starting to trust me a little more. But I couldn't go on like this. Tomorrow, I start working harder. But no sooner had I closed my eyes... What? There was a crash from the hallway outside my room. Okita-senpai, how else do you feel about my ass? DM! I rolled up and out of my bed, just as the door exploded into my room. Oh. Standing in the hole. That's an awkward statement. Was one of the Shinsengumi soldiers. Is something wrong? Soldier. Silence. I called out to him, despite being incredibly alert and guarded, but the soldier remained quiet. Did you need something? Blood. Ooh, it's starting. Huh? I squinted to get a clearer picture. Just then, his hair instantly turned white. Blood. I need blood. His eyes were ominously red. Ominously, yes. And he looked directly at me. Gasp! He was one of the Furies. Give me your blood. To top it off, he was completely mad. Just like the warrior I'd saw that one night in Kyoto. I had to call for help. I couldn't possibly face a deranged superhuman monster on my own. No. I inhaled, preparing to call for help. No, I couldn't call for help. If I did, then I'd just risk jeopardizing the Shinsengumi secret about the Furies. That would spell disaster for the Shinsengumi. I had to find another way. The Fury, unfortunately, was not similarly encumbered by doubts. Ah! His sword hissed through the air, and I felt the metal of its blade burn into the flesh of my arm. Ah! The sharp pain seared into thought from my wound. The Fury saw my blood dripping. His eyes became even more mad. I keep forgetting my eyes are pink. Blood sprang from the cut. I pressed down on it deeply with my free hand, but to no avail. Thick, red liquid spilled between my fingers, fled down my arm and onto the floor. Yes, blood! Give me blood! The Fury became increasingly erratic, and he started licking the blood-stained sword. He began to creep toward me, his movements odd and jerky, like a massive spider. Oh no! My back slammed against the wall. I'm going to die. Just when I prepared myself for death, I suddenly remembered Okita's words from earlier that day. Stop being so timid. You can rely on us when you need to. Okita, everyone, someone help! Blood, 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 blood. He was down on his hands and knees, licking my spilt blood off the floor. There was no samurai there. It seemed what little humanity he had left him entirely. I used his distraction to gain distance from him. Please, I begged to any god who might be listening, let someone come. Not enough. Not enough. He looked up from the floor. My sleeve was soaked in blood from the cut on my arm. His eyes locked onto it, and I saw them light up with an animalistic hunger. Excuse me. I don't think the sword stroke would have had blood. I agree. His grin was a nightmarish thing. Yes, that. Give me more of your blood. He kicked the floor roughly and came charging at me. No! There was no doubt he was going to kill me. I froze. Get down! Don't look up until I tell you. I heard a voice from nearby, and I immediately followed the orders and ducked. Blah! The Fury seemed to be shocked to see Hijikata coming out of nowhere. Whooshing! I love his purple energy. The Fury spun to attack Hijikata, but the commander's sword was faster. Splat. That was a good scream. His twisted cry reverberated from the room's walls. He writhed in agony, but his wound started to heal immediately. Get over here, now! Kochi. Yes! Stop, 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 stop. As I ran to his side, I heard other footsteps pounding down the hallways. You're alright, Chizuru! Hey, isn't he... He's the warrior who had to drink the water of life the other day. He's too far gone. We can't let him live. Oh. His eyes are so pretty. That turquoise. At an unspoken signal, a chorus of blades slid from their scabbards. Shin-san! Sano-san! Don't screw this up. Hesuke! Who the hell do you think we are, Hesuke? If a captain can't take out a simple soldier, even if he is a Fury, he'd have to resign, assuming he wasn't dead. They fanned quickly, circling the wounded soldier. There was no escape. No hard feelings. Whooshing! The captains all attacked at once, and the Fury was killed almost instantly. The excitement was over. Or so I thought. But it hadn't been only the captains who heard my cry for help. Oh! This bitch. Who's causing such a ruckus at this hour of night? Ito! Ito rubbed his still sleepy eyes, stepped into the room, and froze. What's going on here? Damn it. I've seen that soldier before. I thought he was sentenced to death the other day for breaking the code. And look at all this blood. Are you guys responsible for this? Ito, it's not like that. That's right, Hesuke is Ito's friend. This is... What is it not like? Why have our captains cut down one of their own men? Explain this at once. What happened here? Ito was fuming and screaming. My apologies. My lack of discipline is at fault here. Sanan? Seeing Sanan, Ito's eyes grew wide. Sanan? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead. Bom, bom, bom. The captains fell silent. Eventually, I guess we can't keep it a secret any longer. Yukimura, you step out. You can use my room for the night. I know me being here won't do anything, but I wondered if they'd be alright. Would they be able to explain the situation enough to Ito so that he wouldn't freak out? There was so much to worry about, but Hijikata looked at me sternly. How unusual. Did you not hear me? I said get out. Okay. I was worried, but I knew there was nothing else I could do, so I left the room. Bum, bum, bum. And fell directly asleep. Huh? Is it morning already? The birds chirping woke me up. Hijikata has a nice room, guys. I really like... Over there? Yeah, over there. The detail. Bleeding... Yeah, no one addressed her wound. What's up with that? I shot up. Thrown off initially because the ceiling was unfamiliar to me. I remember that Hichikata had told me to stay in his room for the night. And at the same time, the events of last night were beginning to flood into my mind. Bum, 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 bum. The warrior who'd gone mad. The pain of the blade slicing my arm. I touched my arm wrapped in bandages. Oh, someone came in the middle of the night while I was sleeping and fixed my bandages. I see. In his bed. I couldn't feel a throbbing pain anymore, so I took off my bandage to see my injury. Of course, it's healed. What had been an ugly, open wound the night before was now little more than a faint white line. In a few days, even that would be gone. I wouldn't need any bandages anymore, but, well, I guess it's good that the wound is gone, but if anyone sees this, I wrap myself back up again. It'll be inconvenient to wear. But I'm going to pretend to still have this injury. I am not a Dracula, but I am something else. If we remember last stream, I was accosted by the 3 other so-quote demons, and they said that I was a demon too. But how can that be? Because I'm just a normal girl who heals lightning fast. Obviously, I'm regular. I wondered what everyone else is doing. I decided I'd head to the common room to see what was going on. Oh, you. Ito, Miki, and Saito, Hesuke. What are you guys doing so early in the morning? Well, considering what happened last night, I'm not heavy enough sleeper to have that kind of beauty sleep that I need with that noise. You were injured, right, Yukimura? How's your injured arm doing? Oh, he's being kind. Well, it's not that bad. Is that so? Well, I'm glad. Huh? His mood was almost the polar opposite of the previous night. He seemed now to be in rather high spirits. Ito, has something happened? Oh, ho, ho, ho. Would you like to know? No, asshole, I just didn't ask. Yes. I won't tell you. But I suppose you might have an idea, though. Isn't that right, Todo? Saito? What? I crooked an eyebrow at Hesuke and Saito. Oh, Hesuke won't look me in the eyes. Yeah, I guess. The moment our eyes met, he looked away. That seemed odd. Saito? Smug rooster indeed. You have no need for this information just now. Oh, Saito. Unlike his companion, Saito met my gaze straight on, but his eyes were flat and utterly devoid of any emotion. It was as if he'd put up a wall. What the hell? That's a little cold of you. Having that pass for a goodbye, is it? Or did you want to get out of here as soon as possible or something? Get out of here? Saburo, watch your mouth. Well, we'll be on our way now. Good day, Yukimura. Goodbye, Yukimura. Saito! Later! Hesuke! What? But... And then they were gone, leaving me wondered what had just happened. What had happened? Oh, hey, Yukimura. Are you sure it's alright for you to be up and moving already? I'm fine. I slept really well, and I feel a lot better. And my wound doesn't seem to be as deep as it looked. That's great. I'm sorry about what happened to you, though. It's alright. Anyways, I ran into Ito on my way here. He's acting very peculiar. Did something happen? Inoue and Shimada looked to one another, both wearing troubled expressions. Ha. So you saw them, eh? Both Ito and Miki were behaving rather strangely. And Hesuke and Saito were acting kind of strangely too. I was starting to feel concerned, looking at the two of them for an answer. After some thought, Shimada opened up. Yeah, well, Ito and some of the others are leaving. What? Leave? They're going to form a new group, different from the Shinsengumi. Is that okay? He had a meeting this morning with the chief and Commander Hijikata. Guardians of the Imperial Tomb? Yes. I intend to take some of my comrades and leave. We will be appointed official guardians of the Imperial Mausoleum. I have been considering such a move for some time now. But after last night's excitement, I didn't think it'd work out anymore. I knew when I joined the Shinsengumi that my imperialism might not be welcome. But I thought we could work past that. I see now that I was mistaken. Just spit it out, Ito. Basically, you want to split up the Shinsengumi. Who's the one that has been deceiving me for the past 3 years? Oh, fuck you. If you insist, then I will do as you ask. You must remember, however, that last night's incident is a result of orders from the shogunate. We cannot allow you to reveal the secret. Then I propose a deal. Allow me to depart. Peacefully, that is. And in turn, I will remain silent. I also wish to bring several of your men with me. You have to take my Hesuke. Very well. But anyone you wish to take must agree to leave. Of course. I will naturally maintain the fiction that we intend to continue to cooperate with one another. A stance that will no doubt benefit both of us. Cooperation. Fine. Toshi, what do you think? It's your decision, not mine. Then Hesuke and Saito? Alright, take a minute to read this one. He left the Shinsengumi with Kashitaro Ito to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. My Hesuke. Yes, they're leaving with Ito. I confess, I'm rather surprised. I mean, I understand Hesuke, since he's known Ito for quite some time, but I was not expecting it from Saito. No. Then would that mean I could never see them again? Don't worry. Remember what I said? We're going to keep relations amicable between our two organizations. Kondo. It was kind of him to try to comfort me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was going to befall the Shinsengumi and its members. You aren't going to let the men interact with the guard, though, right? Of course not. He gets to leave, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna let him get away with whatever he wants. Tell him, Hijikata. But, is this really okay? Ito and the others leaving, I mean? Ito and his men leaving isn't a problem. Although, I was a little surprised that Hesuke and Saito decided to go with that snake. I would say it was more than a little. But I guess all of this comes from our own faults and our inability to keep them happy. From there, the conversation moved to a discussion of politics that was beyond my ability to follow. And what could I have said anyway? The decision had been made, and there was nothing I could say to change it. I got up quietly and left the common room. I never thought something like this could happen. I looked up to the sky, watching the clouds form in streaks above me, and then lowered my gaze. It seemed like just yesterday that we were all living our normal lives at the compounds. Then all of a sudden, we arrived at today, helpless as our troops split amongst themselves. I couldn't wrap my head around it. However, even with all of my confusion, I was especially worried about the guard. What worried me most were the people leaving with Ito, Hesuke, and Saito. Would I ever get to see them again? Was this goodbye? I wanted to know what they were thinking. Were they still around? As I stood up to go look for them, I spotted Yamazaki walking toward me. Oh, DM, it's your favorite!
Yukimura-kun.
Yukimura. Oh, Yamazaki. I heard you were injured. Are you feeling better? Yes, I'm fine. Have you, seen Hesuke and Saito? Tondo and Saito? You can't say goodbye to front two pay. I know! Haisu! His expression turned grim at the mention of their names. It was quite clear how he felt about the men who'd chosen to leave the Shinsengumi with Ito. I'm sorry for asking. I turned quickly to leave, but he held out a hand to stop me. I saw them going off that way. Oh, Yamazaki. Thanks. Who's this fool? He's not even a samurai. Is he a secret girl? No, he's the ninja. DM. If you want to speak with them, do it soon. Once they've left, you won't be allowed to talk to them. Yes. Run. Run, beautiful. Run. Yeah, you got it. Run. There they were. Hesuke, Saito. Don't say it out loud. Sorry, I don't want to give it away. They turned around with reserved expressions. Well, shoot. Looks like you found us. Oh, did you want to be left alone? I can go. No, of course not. I, wanted to talk to you too. Good. I imagined we'd see you before we left. If you have something to say, say it. Right. I just wanted to hear it from you. Why are you leaving the Shinsengumi? Look, you made him feel bad again. Fuck, dude. Run with your hands behind you like I taught you. I love you. Why? Huh? He scrunched up his face and scratched nervously at the side of his nose. Well, Ito and I are from the same school. He's my senior, obviously. He joined the Shinsengumi at first because I invited him. So I feel like I'm kind of obligated to stick with him, you know? I guess that's it. Hesuke had always struck me as kind, so it was no surprise that he felt he couldn't abandon Ito. Fuck him! In not the romantic way. Ugh! But that means you'll leave everyone else behind. You can teach me so much about eyeliner and contouring. Hesuke has most beautiful... Well, actually, Saito has the nicest eyeliner. And a tiny mole at the bottom of his eye. It's so cute. Anyway, but that means you'll have to leave everyone else behind. You might not ever get to see them again. I'm not really one of Ito's followers, I guess you might say. But I was and am an imperialist. It wasn't like I'd grown up wanting to work under the shogunate or something. And considering what's going on with the serum, it just kind of seems like working for someone like the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb is a better fit for me than working for the shogunate. I couldn't really think of anything to say, so I kept my mouth shut. After a moment, he continued. I'd wanted to just stay here and screw around and have fun with the guys. I mean, we've been together for quite a while, right? His gaze drifted off into the distance, and his profile seemed almost heartbreakingly lonely. But his mouth was a hard line. His mind was made up. Kiss him! Soften that line! What about you, Saito? I looked up at him. Joining Ito and his men serves my own ambition. Kiss me before we never have. Agreed! Yes! Are you an imperialist too? A leader who hopes to unify his people should be one who overcomes any external threats. If the shogunate forgets its essential role, which is keeping its people safe by expelling all foreign influence, then I have no reason to work for them. So you're saying that Kondo and Hijikata are wrong? That's right. And because you don't agree with them, you're willing to walk away and never see them again? I mean, yeah, why are we... Yes. Okay. It can't be helped. In order to go with what I believe in, I mustn't be swayed by emotions. But... Well, I did feel betrayed, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm supposed to say. I wanted them to stay. Are you sure you won't change your mind? Stay here with the Shinsengumi? I can't be the only person who doesn't want you to go. We all like you. Aren't the Shinsengumi your friends? I knew that they had their reasons to go, but I had my own reasons. I wanted them to stay. There was still time. If I could just convince them, make them understand, then they wouldn't have to go away. Please, Hesuke, Saito. Don't say that. It took a long time and a lot of hard thinking to make this. Did I choose wrong? Did I choose wrong? Is that all you had to say? Then please excuse me. Are you sure? Show them your bandage to kill them. But if you go, then you might have to... Oh, I missed it. As I said, my ambition comes before my emotions. Saito... But his mind was made up. There was nothing I could say to change it. He's sure tough. His eyes followed Saito as he walked away. Do you feel the same way? Can you just forget about your feelings? Would it be so easy for you to fight your friends? He screwed up his face in frustration. Hesuke was honest and straightforward, but he didn't have a way with words the way some of the other men did. Hey, why don't we go to the courtyard? He's taking me to the courtyard! He wasn't avoiding my question precisely. Perhaps he wanted to buy some time to think about his response. Alright, let's go. Of course he loves Saito. It's, gotten really warm. He lifted his face to the sky for a moment. Oh, I see. If I chose feeling betrayed, maybe Hesuke would have left, and Saito would have stayed. Maybe. Maybe I didn't choose wrong. Really warm for smooching. It was a cool, clear blue, and warm rays of sunlight washed down on us. Let's sit down here. Okay. I lowered myself down next to him. I know that, well, pretty much everyone doesn't like Ito very much. He digs chicks with scars, that's true. But I don't really think he's wrong. At least not completely. Honestly, I don't think there's much of a future if we continue doing what the shogunate says. Get the fan! Get the fan! Disembodied hands, where's the fan? I'm sure we're only disposable pawns for the shogunate's higher-up. Oh, Heisuke. I'm sure he's not. Considering the serum and everything else, I don't blame them for questioning and having concerns about the shogunate. But not wrong and trustworthy were two very different things. Was he really worth leaving the Shinsengumi? I wondered if he's thinking that joining Ito will turn out better for him than staying with Kondo. I spent a lot of time talking with Ito about the corruption in the shogunate and just how bad of a state that Japan is in right now. Of course, I don't think Ito is right about everything, but I do think that Ito is taking a lot of what's going on right now into consideration. Then, I mean, you know, after seeing how Ito reacted last night, it opened my eyes. Using your comrades, men who fight tooth and nail beside you, as tools for experimentation. Then on top of that, keeping it a secret from people you work with is just plain wrong. He's so honest and sweet. I think before we knew it, we all stopped questioning these things, and it all became a part of our protocol. Heisuke. I just want you to know one thing, though. It doesn't mean I don't like the guys anymore. I just want you to know that much. Yeah. I understand where Heisuke is coming from. I was sure that he had spent a lot of time thinking over all of this, even maybe stressing over it. If after all that internal deliberation, this was how he felt, I'd want him to honor it. But I know, I wanted to stay with you longer, Heisuke. Yeah. Thanks. It's nice to know you feel like that. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I'm not gonna be sad to leave you. But that, doesn't mean that, look, this is hard for both of us, okay? But it's something I gotta do. I'm a man too. I could clearly tell he was wavering. Pushing my feelings on him, I knew would only trouble him. Ah! I also like the guys a lot. We had so much in common. I understand, Heisuke. So I wasn't the only one who would feel loneliness of being apart. In some strange way, that made me happy. And thanks for everything, Chizuru. Thank you for telling me how you really feel. I appreciate it. Butterflies! Whew. Glad to hear it. I just wanted to, you know, make sure we were clear on that. It felt like our conversation had lifted a huge burden off Hesuke, and his bright smile returned. Oh, and also, I'm sorry. Huh? Sorry that I can't stick around to help you find your dad. I mean, no, it's alright. Don't worry about it. Just be careful, Hesuke. Yes, I know. I won't throw my life away. I promise. Oh my god. My wound healed completely soon afterwards, but I kept the bandages on. I didn't want anyone to see that my scar had also healed. Since Ito, Hesuke, and Saito all left, the compounds felt so much larger and emptier. I know! Where is the kiss? Why didn't I go with him? What is wrong with Chizuru? Fuck, pack up your shit! Go with this fucker! Around the same time, Takeda, one of the captains of the Shinsengumi, had also left. I guess these are the things we can't help, but it felt as if everyone was going in different directions, off to forge their own paths. I couldn't help but feel sad about it. July 1867. 3 months had passed since Ito had left the Shinsengumi, taking his men and others with him. Late one evening, I laid in my warm futon at an hour where I should have been asleep. But I was tossing and turning in my bed. My mind was wide awake. I wasn't falling asleep anytime soon. But why? I was nervous, certainly, and I'd trained earlier that day, but neither of those things was anything new. I needed to get to sleep soon, or I'd oversleep in the morning, and that would be embarrassing. As I forced my eyes shut for the 1000th time, I heard someone calling out for me. Yukimura, are you still awake? I am becoming nocturnal. The voice outside belonged to Hichikata. I scrambled to my feet. Yes, what is it? You have a visitor. Once you're dressed, come to the common room. A visitor? Who would come visit me? Especially at such a late hour. I stood, puzzled, but I rushed to get dressed and shuffled toward the common room. I slid open the door and walked in, and I was surprised at what I saw. I apologize for disturbing your sleep. Oh, that's fine, but... You got some crazy bedhead. Didn't you have time to brush it? What? Really? I'm so sorry, Cut the stupid joke, Soji. Huh? It was a joke? Don't worry, you don't have bedhead. Aw, thanks, Sanosuke. Thanks for coming. Please sit there. Okay. Even Sanan was here. Seeing all the captains of the Shinsengumi gathered, I shook with nerves. I went to sit down in the corner, but when I locked eyes with the person sitting in front of me, my eyes grew wide. Reason being, the person who was sitting was... Hello, Chizuru. How are you doing? I'm sorry for visiting you so late at night. Sen? This is quite the party. Yeah. I hope it's not that kind of game. So, my visitor was Sen? What could she be doing here? Only then did I notice a beautiful woman dressed as a ninja seated next to Sen. Yamazaki has a friend now. Ah, yes. This one is with me. My bodyguard, one might say. We met Sen a few chapters ago. Really excitable to see me. Bodyguard? I looked at the captains, hoping someone would explain the situation. Supposedly, she really wants to talk to you. I guess he's leaving it up to me to talk first. So, Sen? Only a ninja can call another ninja ninja. So, Sen, what brings you here today? Even though I was nervous, at the very least, our relationship was beyond just acquaintances. Sen looked back at me with a stern expression and looked down before speaking calmly. Well, I'll get straight to the point. I've come to take you. A Naruette. Come to take me? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. Huh. Well, it's actually a long story. I'm not quite sure where to begin. There's no time. We must make preparations to leave immediately. Wait, hold on. Why should I go with you? Yeah. That's a damn good question. You just barge in here, ask to see her, and spring this on us? Are you her relatives or something? She doesn't seem to have any idea, though. Aww, Sanosuke. Girl smooching? Girl ninja smooching? This game is great. I bet. Sen, can you explain a little more? Yes, I do suppose you have a point. I suppose arriving suddenly and springing this upon you would be rather perplexing. Very well. I shall start at the beginning. It may take some time. Should we step out? No. I'd like you all to stay. It does involve a lot of you as well. She glanced around the room, looking at each of the captains, and started to speak. You are familiar with Kazuma, yes? I hear you have crossed swords with him once or twice. How do you know that? Oh, well, I hear of most things that happen in Kyoto, eventually. Huh. You're something like Kazuma and his punks, aren't you? I would rather prefer not to be associated with his ilk, but yes, in a sense, you are correct. Fine. You were talking about Kazuma. He showed up at Ikedaya, Hamaguri, and Nijo. He's got something to do with Satsuma and Choshu, doesn't he? Well, most of the time it seemed more like he was there for his own reasons, not any kind of domain politics. Either way, he's an enemy of the Shinsengumi. Then you are also aware that he is pursuing your lady friend here. Sen gestured at me and for the captain's benefit, then fixed me with a level stare. What was going on? This was getting stranger and stranger, and I started to think I didn't really want to know the rest of the story. We are aware of that. We are also aware that Kazuma and his compatriots call themselves demons. Not that they were inclined to believe such a claim, of course. No, I do not think their claim as demons is unfounded. All three of them possess powers that make them incomparable to humans. However, despite their strengths, their presence is virtually unknown amongst the public. In normal circumstances, that is impossible. It's rare for you to say something so kind, Sanan. So, go on, Sen. Ah, then you know they are demons. Excellent. That will save me some time, then. I am not human either. I am also a demon. You are? I am. In fact, a princess. Princess Sen. An acquaintance of the heroine, they first meet each other in Kyoto. She claims to be a demon. With that, she gave us an elegant bow, exactly like one might expect from a princess. I come from a family of ninja who have served Princess Sen and her family for generations. It all makes sense now. Does it, Hichikata? Does it? I'd wondered why you were being so friendly. You were gathering information on the Shinsengumi. I have no idea what you mean. She tilted her head to the side politely and met Hijikata's glare with an innocent smile. You know her? Yeah, she served you a bunch of drinks when Sanosuke got a bunch of money. Move your eyes up about 6 inches, Shinpachi. That's Kimikiku. She's dressed a little differently from when we met her in Shimabara. But that's her face alright. What? Kimikiku smiled. We demons have lived in this country since a very long time ago. The top officials in the shogunate and in many of the domains already know of us. Most demons had no interest in human matters and preferred to be left alone, to go about their own affairs in peace. However, humans in positions of power saw that they might achieve great things with the assistance of demons, so demanded that assistance. And did the demons obey? Many did not. They felt they had no obligation to involve themselves in human affairs. Human ambition meant nothing to them. But when they refused, the human lords were furious. They sent great armies to destroy the villages of the demons. How horrible. The demon clans scattered across the country and were forced into hiding. No longer isolated in their own communities, they went on to mate with humans. These days, there are only a few demons who can claim a pure bloodline. Well, we all know what that means. And I assume Kazuma is one of these. Sen nodded. Currently, the largest pureblood family is the Kazuma, who have the Satsuma's domain support. You have already met the head, Chikage Kazuma. Chikage Kazuma. In the east, the largest family is the Yukimura. That would be your family, Chizuru. What? I heard that the demons of the Yukimura clan living in the hidden village were destroyed by humans. But it would seem there is a survivor, and that survivor is her. Chizuru, the blood that runs in your veins is pure and strong. I sense great power from you. No way. But I had Kiku gather as much history on your family as she could. I know you may find it all difficult to believe, but you are very much a demon. I don't know about her dad. We'll find out, maybe. The revelation of all of this was nearly impossible to comprehend. I was at a loss of words. I mean, I was told I was not human, but a being called the demon. Main character was informed by Princess Sen that she's a demon. Thanks, terminology. I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, all the odd things that occurred all made sense now. Literally, Kazuma was there like, what, 3 chapters ago? Being like, hey bitch, you're a demon, I'm a demon, let's all be demons. And you were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And now this person, and now a lady comes around and tells you you're a demon, and suddenly like, oh, okay, everything makes sense now. Totes. There we go. Yep. Now I knew why Kazuma was after me, and why I'd healed so much more quickly than— He told you! He told you! Oh my god. Okay. So upsetting. He told her. Tiny table. Ugh. Fuck. Ugh. If you are indeed the descendant of a pureblood demon, then Kazuma's desire for you is clear. Should two purebloods mate, they will produce an even more powerful demon. Ah, so he wants her for his bride. Thank you for saying it so kindly, Kondo. After a fashion, yes, Kazuma will definitely return for her. Thus far, he has been content to toy with you, but I cannot guess how much longer that may last. Should he devote all of his formidable abilities to this task, I do not think you will be able to protect her. Even the Shinsengumi cannot stand against the true power of a demon. Whoa, whoa, whoa there, princess. You don't think that's going a bit far? Shinpachi's right. You aren't giving us enough credit. Look guys, my reverse harem is excited. They don't want me to go either. Bring back Hesuke, maybe I'll stay. The only reason you're still alive is because Kazuma and his companions have not turned their true strength on all of you. Then let them. I should dearly like to see the power of a true demon. Sanan! Kazuma and his friends had already demonstrated incredible strength. Even the captains of the Shinsengumi had easily been brushed aside. Bazwhisker? Did you find one? If that was not even the full extent of their strength, then a battle to the death against one of them would be... Shinpachi and Harada are right. Although they were more powerful than any average human warrior, the difference in power between us wasn't so vast that we couldn't best them, even if they were going easy on us. Very true. Besides, we've got the demon himself in command, don't we? Shut up, Soji. I understand how you feel, but you must realize that these men are unlike any foe you have faced before. Your guys' job is to protect the safety of Kyoto, not to protect her. That is why I must ask you to leave her to us. In our care, her chances of survival will be much higher. Hey, give us a chance, alright? Are you trying to say we can't protect her? Oh, Shinpachi. This may sound rude, but you're talking about the power of two women over all of us. Oh, Sanosuke. That's a thing. It's hard for me to imagine, with your thin arms, could go head to head with guys like Kazuma, Amagiri, and Shirayui. Look, lady, you're not part of the Shinsengumi, so I'd appreciate it if you would just keep your nose out of our business. Sassy Soji, always to the rescue. Both Sen and Kimigiku seem to be thrown off by the captain's reactions. And what about you, Hijikata? You've acknowledged Kazuma's strength. Surely you must at least consider the princess's offer. Stop talking, it makes you look less cute. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it's kinda what it sounded like. Please, give her to us. That's different. It's not our style to back out on a promise. We decided we're going to protect her. We're not going to run away just because they're demons. And besides, if you're going to claim that you're a demon, I guess I'll take it. But that doesn't mean we trust you. Oh, Hijikata. Look at you two with your purple eyes going at it. Do you know who you're speaking to? Princess Sen is a descendant of Suzuka Gozen. a female demon said to have lived on the Suzuka mountain. She fell in love with Tamuro Sakanoe and went to live with him in Yase. Kimikiku, please. That is not necessary. Her tone was calm and friendly, but it left no room for argument. I agree with Hijikata. If she really does have a blood of a different species, we'd like to cooperate with her for internal purposes in the near future. God damn, Sanan, already ready to experiment on my blood. Hasn't even been 10 minutes. Thank God the terminology had more info than sent as a prince. Yeah, because, I mean, that's basically what they've been doing to us so far. What? Kimikiku glared at him. Should I read it in a sassy voice for the rest of them today? No, I'm not going to do that. She probably didn't say anything out of concern for Sen. I see. That is a problem then. There is no way I can convince you? Hold on a minute. We didn't confirm one important thing. Important thing? Aw, Kondo, you're gonna ask me what I want. Wow, what a thought, guys. Yukimura, what do you have to say about all this? Me? Well, I couldn't give an immediate answer. It wasn't that I was doubting Sen and Kimigiku, but I see. It must be difficult to discuss with an audience. You ought to speak with Princess Sen alone. What the hell, Kondo? Hijikata tried to protest, but Kondo didn't change his expression. There should be at least one witness. The princess may take Kimigiku as well, of course. No, that's not necessary. We've been ignoring her feelings this entire time. If she wants to leave this place, then we shouldn't stop her. Kondo! Damn it, you're so easy on people as usual. Well, if Kondo says so. His words spoke for the rest of them as well. They might not like it, but Kondo was the chief. What he said went. But it was above his title alone. I think his personality... But it was above his title alone. I think his personality usually won out over these sorts of issues. You won't steal her away the moment the two of you are alone, will you? You needn't worry. Once a demon makes a promise, we keep it. Oh, really? I have spoken. I'll be fine. Sen isn't a bad person. Why, thank you, Chizuru. When she smiled, her expression returned to that of a girl her age. Pom 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 pom. A few moments later, we found ourselves alone in my room. I know I've given you a terrible amount of things to think about this evening. I'm awfully sorry. Normally, I would never take this kind of measure. No, it's alright. I let everyone walk all over me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. You know, them. They said some pretty mean things. Well, that's to be expected, I fear. I mean, I assume she's supposedly my age? So, somewhere around, like, 17, 18, maybe? I was asking rather a lot of them, and frightfully suddenly. Not many humans would accept the existence of demons so easily. But enough of that. On to business. What do you say to my offer? Have you thought on it? I had indeed. If Sen had come to me when I'd first arrived in Kyoto, I might as well have taken her up on her hospitality. But now, the Shinsengumi seem to believe they can. Though I do not doubt their dedication, I confess I do doubt their ability. Perhaps what she said was true. The Shinsengumi were powerful and skilled. I'd seen them face overwhelming odds and emerge victorious. But those odds had always been human. The strength of even a single demon was something great and terrible. Of that, there was no doubt. We had all seen so firsthand, and some had even lost their lives to that strength. What offer? Hey, you're a demon, come with me, with no idea what we intend for me. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, you know, Chizuru doesn't think two steps ahead of herself. And the same fate could occur even to the captains of the Shinsengumi. I'm sure the political situation in Kyoto will be more chaotic in the near future. If Kazuma were to strike during such a time, what do you think would happen? You should leave the Shinsengumi. That way they will be able to fight without worry. Oh wow, now you're using them against me? Rude! Sen. Her eyes were serious, but warm and honest. Whatever else she might be, her concern for me was real. Thank you, Sen, but I hesitated. I just couldn't get myself to agree. Is there a reason you wish to stay? Yeah. Oh my. One of those gentlemen, perhaps? What? Her question had been entirely innocent, although it had caught me off guard. Yeah, rude but correct. I couldn't possibly lie to her. What should I tell her? I mean, yes, but the one I want isn't here. Yeah. I nodded and did my best to look confident. She seemed a little surprised, but she eventually looked relieved and softened up. I see. Well, I shan't ask who, but I can certainly understand your dilemma. That being the case, I couldn't possibly tell you to leave. Not one. Any of them, mostly. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you for waiting. So, how was it? Have you reached your decision? Before I could speak, Sen stepped forward. After some discussion, we have decided to leave things as they are. Oh. Sen, are you sure, Your Highness? Quite. For now, I believe it is of utmost importance to prioritize her wishes. Very well. The Shinsengumi accepts responsibility for her well-being. Oh, Kondo's so happy. Just relax and leave it all to me. Oh, I'm sure Shinpachi will give you all sorts of other things to worry about. Still, glad to have you around. What kind of girl would want to stay here? I can't tell if you have guts or if you just got rocks for brains. For real, Soji! For real. This doesn't make you special. You'll receive the same treatment you always have. I can always count on Hijikata. Right. Thank you, all of you, for letting me stay. Sen took my hands in hers, and I let her eyes rest on mine. Do be careful, Chizuru. And remember, I am on your side. Thank you, Sen. She gave me one last warm smile, and then Sen and Kimikiku were gone. Ring! Sigh. Once again, sleep refused to come. My mind worked furiously, turning over everything Sen had told me, examining it from every angle. I was a demon. Not only that, but I was the head of a pure-blood demon clan that was nearly destroyed, my heritage being the reason for Kazuma's continued interest. Could you take out that bitch that looks... Yeah, for real! Gosh. I had decided to stay with the Shinsengumi, but was that really the best idea? Should I have left instead? I'd wanted to stay, of course, and I didn't really think leaving was a reasonable choice, but what if I made a mistake? Ah! Oh, that was genuine, actually. I heard a sound from outside, and it made me jump. That sound! Could it be? Ooh, Shimada. I'm sorry for bothering you so late, but this is an emergency. I heard Shimada from the highway. From the highway? All the way from the highway, guys, that don't exist. From the hallway! Yes! The door snapped open and Shimada stepped in. They're always so, like, they always wait for you to say come in. Like, they don't just barge in. They're at least that polite. I appreciate that. His eyes darted back and forth nervously. His body was tense. Has something happened? The demons have attacked. Here. What? They're after you, which means you need to stay here. But I was the reason they came. Yeah, bitch. Fuck. How could I justify sitting on my hands while others fought my battles for me? I didn't know what. Oh no. Oh no. Go find the others. Go outside. Just a minute ago I was a normal girl with a healing factor from an educated father, and now I'm a were-Dracula devil princess. It's all so much. What do I do? Shit. This is a big one. I could literally die, guys. I could die. Is it time to save? It's time to save. I'm saving. Overwrite the data. I saved. Okay, okay. I could die. Fuck. Alright. So, should I go find the others? Go outside. I feel like if I go outside, I will die. Like, no cover? If I stay in my room... Remember, kids, save now, save often. Yes, save now, save often. If I stay in my room, there's a possibility Shimada might die, and that would make me very sad. But like I said, if I go outside, like almost possible, go outside for shiggles. I want to go find the others. I have to go, Shimada. I can't let you do that. The commander made sure I don't let you come out. Those demons are here for me. If anyone gets hurt, maybe they'll listen to me. That's why they're here, right? What if I can convince them to leave peacefully? Please, I'm begging you, let me go. We know that they're here for me. So if I can convince them, maybe Kazuma and the others will hear me out. Shimada's brow furrowed and his mouth drew into a tight line. But at last he sighed, shaking his head. Fine. If you're going to be that insistent, I don't think that there's anything else I can do. Wow, Shimada, you really you're gonna make a nice lady a very pleasant husband someday if you survive all of these wars. Just saying. I was told to protect you, though. So if you're going, then so am I. Is that alright with you? Look at him even asking me about, my opinion. Is it okay if I come with you? Fucking Shimada? That's some good shit, guys. That will be fine. My tea's cold. We ran out of the house, and then I paused momentarily, unsure where to go. This way, Yukimura. The second he said that, something passed right in front of my eyes. His body flew! Oh no! He flew several yards through the air, then hit the ground hard, sliding another few feet before lying still. Shimada! Oh. It all happened so quickly. I tried to run up to him, but then... Just where do you think you're going? That voice! Kazuma! Everyone roll for initiative! That's a thing, right? I can do that? In the same instant that I recognized his voice, I felt his arm snake around my neck to pull me in. That's why we save. It's fine. I struggled, but his grip was immovable as steel. Let go of me. I heard the Yase clan had visited you tonight. I'm sure they got you up to speed. You are a noble demon. It is beneath you to lay in a nest full of pathetic fakes. come with me. It was obvious he was referring to when he mentioned... It was obvious what he was referring to when he mentioned fakes. You've seen the pitiful attempts at manufacturing demons, have you not? Do you really think it necessary to help them in creating such abominations just to carry out their sick agenda of self-interests? I couldn't find a response. For obvious reasons, I wasn't necessarily in favor of the existence of Furies, but there are times when you have no other choice. Still, as an outsider, I am in no position to say. And more than anything else, my father was the one responsible for this serum. Another choice, guys! Shit! Okay. You don't even know anything. How... I will take responsibility in my father's place. I will take responsibility in my father's place. My father was handling this experiment. As his daughter, I can't ignore it. What? Was that a butterfly? What? You know nothing, Jon Snow. Wait, was that a... Did I just charm Kazuma? I guess I did. Ah, that's an admirable attitude. But that doesn't mean I'd look the other way. Pum 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 pum. Just then, breaking into our headquarters, huh? Takes balls, enemies to lovers indeed. No, I'm saving myself for Hesuke. Don't be putting thoughts in my head, Kazuma. That girl named Sen, or whatever. This isn't a gathering place for demons. Fun's over now, pal. Are you ready? Hey, I heard you're barging into our place to get yourself a wife. Oh, Sanosuke. You think you'd get to that point by now after all these rejections? I guess demons are very persistent. Hijikata! Harada! Behind them, I could see Yamazaki and several other of the Shinsengumi soldiers. Some men were missing, though. Had they been injured by the demons? Perhaps even killed? You fools have no idea of her worth. Demons are best fit to be with demons. She is the most valuable when used by a fitting partner. Wow! No, no enemies to lovers. No. I can change him. No. Ha! So you decided to take her against her will just because you're too scared of the rejection you'll get from flat out asking her out, huh? Tell him, Sanosuke. Preach. You're so lame and creepy. She's worthless to you as a hostage. Even if you take her as a hostage, we'd kill you regardless without any hesitation. I have no intention of using her as leverage. I wouldn't have to. Anyway, with the likes of you. Bitter Seeds, hello! I appreciate the run by. The ring of men around him began to draw in. Oh my. I could feel the tension build, like a rope being pulled taut. So it would reach its breaking point. Soon it would reach. Okay. Okay. Try to attack. Try to escape. Okay, so my heart says trust the Shinsengumi. Because that's what they want me to do. If I try to escape... Saving again. Saving again. Okay, DM, this time I'll go with you. Let's attack. Kazuma had a good hold on me from behind, but he hadn't bothered to restrain my arms. There was nothing I could do. I wouldn't dare to attack him. Or perhaps he thought that even if I did, he'd have no difficulty dealing with my attacks. I shouldn't listen to the DM. You're right, but I saved, so I can go back. It's fair. I wasn't foolish enough to think that I might actually beat him in a fight, but at least I could try and defend myself. I jerked my sword out. That's what they're calling it these days. Save twice, cut once. Thank you, Soup. Yeah! I attacked Kazuma with all my might. However, Kazuma easily dodged my swing. His hand slid to my wrist and he twisted viciously. Ah! Grunt? Awkward. It was strong enough that I thought for a moment my bones would break. With a cry, my sword flew from my fingers. How dare you point your sword to your future husband? I guess you truly have no idea how powerful I am. I'll just have to discipline you. Where are you looking at? I'm your impotent. Oh, Hijikata, you finally, like... Wow, thanks. My aborted attack had distracted Kazuma for only a split second, but that was all the time Hijikata needed. A spanking. Soup. Oh, that wasn't Soup. Sorry. Hey, you, it's me. Hey, me, it's you. I can't read. You know who you are. There'll be no... I can't. Just a minute, guys. Oh, shit. Okay. You can take the credit if you like, Soup. Okay. My aborted attack had distracted Kazuma for only a split second, but that was all the time Hijikata needed. Combat training, dirty, I agree. With the space of a breath, he closed the distance between himself and my captor. The tip! Just the tip! of his blade leaping toward Kazuma's throat. Damn it! Ka-ching. That was really bright, actually. Almost too quickly to see, he leaned out of the way. Hijikata's blade hissed through the air centimeters from his neck. A lesser man, or a human, would have been dead. And so for a moment, Kazuma's demon strength and reflexes were focused on the sword at his throat. The sixth sheep's sick. Quoi? That moment was enough time to break free. I'm so... Oh, Hijikata. So forward. Ah! He gripped my arm and my body was jerked into him. Hijikata! It is the hardest tongue twister. Even I had issues. I felt a gentle, powerful arm curl around my body, clutching and sheltering me at the same time. Don't fall for Hijikata. You're waiting for Hesuke. He'll be back. He better be. Thought you were supposed to stay in your room. You're a real pain, kid. I know. I'm sorry. I got a little bit of a liking from Hijikata. Still, you did good. What? Wouldn't have had that opening without you. Good job. Praise? Praise from Hijikata was not something I was accustomed to. I opened my mouth to say I wasn't sure what when Hijikata, or whatever, you get your dirty hands off her. The girl is mine. I will not give her to a mere human. Kazuma had recovered quickly from the attack, and his eyes smoldered with cold fury. Sorry, man. But I can't hand her over. Suddenly he's a cool man. The Shinsengumi is responsible for her now. We gave our word. No going back now. I felt his grip on me tighten as he spoke. Hug me closer, Hijikata. Chizuru Yukimura. Come with me. You are a member of an honorable demon clan. You shouldn't be associated with the likes of them. Even their existence is despicable. The image of Shimada being relentlessly thrown against a wall flashed before me. Even if I was part of a demon clan like he was. No, I'll never join you. I'm staying here. Now please, please leave. You would choose a simple human then? Shiranui's here. Too bad, Kazuma. Who would have thought I'd get to see you get rejected by a girl? That was pretty epic. Shut up, Shiranui. Oh no. Hijikata was having trouble with Kazuma alone. Now we also had Shiranui to deal with. Now this is the one full of guns, guys. Just remember. Just then, Hijikata, my apologies for being late. The Fury Corps will be your opponent. Saran! Who's that one over there? Oh, over there. With the long ponytail. That's I appreciate that one. You there. You were saying some funny things a little earlier. If my memory serves me correctly, I think you were saying something like we were imitators. This is an excellent chance for you to witness our tremendous strength. Sanan's hair was stark white, and his eyes were red. He led the Fury Corps toward the Kazuma and his men. Oh, Amagiri's here now. I like Amagiri. I wouldn't mind if Amagiri pursued me. I like him. There's something just, you know, tall, silent, strong, and honest. I appreciate it. These men are fresh, ready to fight. What would you do? So, they could have a whole army of these chumps and they wouldn't be a match for us. I say we take them apart. We gotta get rid of them eventually anyways. I'm so interested by Shiranui's outfit. I do like his scarf though. I appreciate the turquoise. Or the teal. No need to dirty my sword with fake demon blood. Boy, Kazuma! I'll do you a favor and step down today. But this doesn't mean that this is over. I will be back for the demon woman. The demon woman, he says. Look forward to my return. Hey! Wait! You bastards! Not quite what he said, but that's fine. The bastard part wasn't quite there. Hijikata tried to run after them. What? With no further deliberation, they leapt over the wall to the street and they were gone. What should we do? Should we go after them? No, we can't afford to let civilians in Kyoto see any of you guys. Understood. Then we'll call it a night. My body sagged with relief as the terrified energy of the last few minutes quickly ebbed away. Hijikata? Thank you. No need to thank me. We had our own reasons for wanting to protect you. He's so pretty though. Just hurry on back to your room. Okay. Hijikata then ordered the warriors to check for any casualties on the compound. His face was cold and hard, the face of the demon of the Shinsengumi. As the last of his warmth left me, I shivered in the cold night air. Shut up and yeah! Go find what Yamazaki? No, I'm Yamazaki. Yeah. Yamagiri, go find him. Poor thing. After time passed the following day. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Yukimura. Did you sleep well last night? Oh, yes. You don't have to lie for our sake. We can tell how well you slept by looking at your face. Oh, Shimada! This is Yamazaki. Ne? Yes. The hit knocked him out, but aside from some bruises, he seems to be fine. He'll be back on duty soon. Really? Oh, what a relief. Is it rude that I forgot which one was which? Or rude... What part is rude, DM? Oh. Shimada wanted to apologize to you for not doing a better job. Oh, Shimada! He's so sweet. What? I'm the one who should be apologizing to him. Oh, morning, Isami. Uh-oh. What's happened? You don't look to be in a good mood. You've got a scary enough face to begin with, Kondo. Look, you're even scaring her. Aw. No, I'm not scared. Yeah, we can see how tired your face. Yes, indeed, that is pretty rude to tell a woman how tired she looks. Or anyone, really. Anyway, no need to hide it. You can admit that you're scared if you're scared. But I wasn't saying... Sorry. Sorry about that. I meant no ill will. Forgive me. He gave a tight grin, but then looked down. His face grim. I wondered what was the matter. He's acting different. Please don't apologize. Please, just tell us what happened. Well, you'll find out soon enough, I suppose. He wasn't just talking to me anymore. The rest moved closer to hear what he had to say. Nishi Hangwanji doesn't want the Shinsengumi here anymore. Oh great, we're getting kicked out of the castle. They're telling us to leave, you mean? Well, they didn't say it in so many words, but yes. I had a feeling this day would come eventually, but now that it's here, what should we do? The monks at the Nishi Hangwanji temple were imperialists and allies of the Choshu. They'd never been fond of the Shinsengumi, but we'd decided to force our way into their temple anyway. It was no surprise they wanted us out, but I'd finally begun to feel like the temple was my home. I was sure I wasn't the only one who felt that way. Still, this is awfully sudden. Do you think last night's incident triggered this? I don't have to think. I know. They don't want fighting on temple grounds. I'm sure someone else has a hand in this too. Choshu, or maybe Satsuma. The ruckus last night was all because of Kazuma and his men wanted to abduct me. I'm sorry, this is all my fault. Not true. We came to this temple and forced them to yield to our admittedly unreasonable demands. But what are we going to do? If we have to move, then we need to start looking for a new location. Actually, we don't. We'll be provided with a new site, courtesy of the Nishi Hangwanji Temple. What? That's awfully generous. They must really want us gone. Yes, on both counts, which is why I've decided to accept their offer. Things are going to get busy around here very soon. A plot of land was purchased and a new compound was built, all paid for by the Nishi Hangwanji Temple. It became the third headquarters of the Shinsengumi Fudoro village location. In the new location, there was a big bath where a dozen or so warriors could bathe together, even new dojos. The new warriors were clearly excited about it. By the time summer came, the Shinsengumi had left Nishi Hangwanji, where they'd spent more than 2 years. (1867) November. November 1867. A gust of wind stripped some of the last stubborn leaves from the trees and sent them skittering across the Kyoto street. It was cold, and it bit into my clothes. I shivered. Yeah, we can look that up later. It's almost winter, isn't it? Yeah, the wind's gotten pretty cold lately. Still, we don't have it too bad during the day. I can't imagine how cold it gets for the night for the guys. He laughed as his breath turned like smoke. My fingertips were icy cold, and I blew my breath on them. Are your hands cold? Would you like me to hold them? No, I'm not that cold. I'll be fine. Always flirting, Sanosuke. I'd noticed someone walking toward us. Hey guys! Ain't today great? Yeah, that would be nice. Apparently they do train her. Just not very well, apparently. He is the only one not affected by cold. What? You're one to talk, man. Look at what you're wearing. Their bickering might have looked odd to a passerby, but I knew it for the sign of deep friendship that it was. My lips are cold too. His lips are cold too. No, only Hesuke's lips are cold. Stop trying to get me in cahoots with other men. I've made my hardest decision. What's up? Why are you grinning like that? Probably thinks your face is funny, Shinpachi. You really ought to do something about that thing. No, it's just... Oh, well, I was just remembering when we met up like this before. Like the time we met Koru. It was with Okita and Hesuke then, though. More than 6 months had passed since Saito and Hesuke left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. Haruna and Shinpachi's faces turned grim as I trailed off. I shook my head, hoping vainly to cast off unpleasant thoughts. I just mean, there's been so much going on lately, it makes me nostalgic. The Shinsengumi has changed. Hell, so has the rest of the world. Yes. But man, who would have thought there would come a day where we'd be promoted to Jiki-san? It was right around the time we'd moved our headquarters to Fudodo Village, right? I remember there were a handful of people who said that they were going to leave, and it was a big debacle. There was a distinction, though, between those who were able to leave the Shinsengumi and then those who were forced to enter the Fury Corps. Kondo seemed to be thrilled about becoming promoted to Jiki-san. But how do you guys feel about this? I'm not really a fan. Yeah, I didn't do all this work just so I could be a retainer for the Shogun. Kondo's promotion had changed the Shinsengumi's relationship with the Daimyo. Where before we'd only been philosophically aligned with the Shogun, now we answered directly to him. For some people, that was a serious problem. Rumors floated around as we began to move our new headquarters. So this is going to change for us what's this going to change for us going forward? I heard that a few months ago the Imperial Prince had become the new Emperor. I think there was a restoration of Imperial rule last month, right? Supposedly, the Tokugawa shogunate returned power from the government to the Emperor, right? Yeah, supposedly it was Ryomo Sakamoto's idea. I heard that because of that, the Satsuma and Choshu are really pissed at him because they were going to use this opportunity to fight for power. Well, he already had a target on his back from the shogunate head supporters, so now he's basically hated by every Ronin in Japan. But then, now there's no just cause for the Satsuma and the Choshu to start a war. So for now, I guess they're just gonna keep things like they are. For now. That's right. The shogunate is going to remain as it is. The Tokugawa will still be the last daimyo for Japan. Still, there's a chance that the Satsuma having something up their sleeve, but we have no way of knowing. Well, as long as the shogunate doesn't call their bluff, nothing's gonna happen. I see. As I looked around the city, it seemed like he had a point. Nothing much seemed to have changed. Inns were still bustling with travelers, tea shops were still smelling delicious. You could still smell the burning incense from the temples scattered throughout the town. Life continued just as it always had, regardless of what the Shogun War was doing, or wasn't doing. The city might look the same as it always had, but time flowed on regardless, and a great wave was coming that would carry all of us away. Oh, is our connection getting funny? I looked up at Nagakura, and something occurred to me that I hadn't thought of before. Before I realized what I was doing, I'd opened my mouth. I didn't realize you were so smart, Nagakura. You know a lot about politics. Didn't realize? Wait. Just what did you think of me? Let's continue our rounds. It's winter, which means it'll get dark faster. You're trying to dodge the question. Yeah, of course, I just called you stupid. There was a man named Ryoma Sakamoto. He was a ronin from the Tosa domain, and had allied himself with the Satsuma and Choshu domains as well. For a time, the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner, Mimawari-gumi, and even the Shinsengumi were desperate to fight him. After his orchestration of the restoration of imperial rule, however, orders were passed down to leave him alone. I only had a general idea of who he was and what he'd done, but even I had figured out that he was an important person. So when I heard Inoue mention him, I listened. Ryoma Sakamoto has been assassinated. What? That was fast. You're serious, Gen? Do they know who did it? Sakamoto has a lot of enemies. Could have been imperialists or loyalists. Hell, it could have just been personal. In which case, my money is on Miura of Kishu. You think maybe they're looking at us for it? Are you familiar with the term himbo? Damn, if the bastard was gonna get killed anyway, I should have done him in. Oh, Soji. That's, not very funny coming from you. In fact, weren't we specifically told to leave him alone? I'd never met Sakamoto. In fact, I barely knew who he was. But I felt somehow that his death would shake the country to its core. As you all know, there was a decision made far above us, and Kondo was ordered to leave Ryoma Sakamoto alone. Unfortunately, the rest of the country is unlikely to see it that way. A scabbard belonging to a member of the Shinsengumi was found at the scene of his death. There has been a request for an official inquiry. A scabbard? Is that really enough evidence? If it isn't, I'm sure they'll just fabricate more. It's obviously a ruse. Who are they saying it belonged to anyway? Actually, they say it was yours, Harada. What? Really, Sano? Damn, I wish you'd brought me with you. Knock it off, Okita. Besides, my scabbard's right here. Man, this is idiotic. If you're going to make shit up, do it better. Agreed, Sonosuke. I don't suspect you, and neither does anyone else here. Unfortunately, I doubt the rest of the nation will extend you the same courtesy. I imagine they're having trouble determining the real culprit. Yay, it's back. Or no, it's back. There was talk that Kyotaru Miura from Kishu asked the Shinsengumi to kill Ryoma. Miura? That was the man Nagakura had mentioned. He had some sort of personal quarrel with Sakamoto, which made him a suspect. I'm sure there's plenty of people who'd love to pin this one on the Shinsengumi. But unless someone did it and lied about it, there's no way it was us. Unless Sanan decided to go do a little work off the books. Ooh, excuse me. The room fell silent. How is Sanan these days? Our reputation is grisly enough, but even I think his night rounds are bad these days. It was true, Sanan was acting stranger and stranger. Although I didn't want to believe it, I had to admit it wasn't that different to imagine him doing something like that. When I passed him on occasion in the hallways, his eyes were dry and thirsty, as if he was always hungry for blood. Well, he'll have to be careful then. We can't let people learn about the Furies. About that. Oh! Hey, Kondo, Hijikata. Whoa! Saito! Saito? What the hell are you doing here? I thought I was dreaming for a second, but there was no doubt. The man who'd followed Kondo and Hijikata into the room was the man who'd left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, Saito himself. Oh, hello, Saito. It's been a while. What happened to the guard? That is not the one we want. You're right, DM. They sent me the wrong boy. I ordered the small one. Not the stern one. What are you talking about, Inoue? There's no way Hijikata would allow anyone from the guard here. We're prohibited from even talking to them. Ugh, just shut up, alright? Starting today, Saito's back on the Shinsengumi. Ooh, terminology. He left the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb to rejoin the Shinsengumi. He was operating as a spy under Hijikata's orders. How kind! Thanks, Saito. What? What? Hold on a second there, Hijikata. We're glad he's back. Don't get me wrong, but what happened with the guard? And Ito? You're mistaken, but understandably. I was never one of Ito's supporters. In fact, Saito joined Ito and his men as a spy under Toshi's direct orders. And with that, everything suddenly made sense. They say that to fool your enemy, you must fool your allies. And Saito had been doing just that. What? Come on, Saito. It's not fair for you to go off and have fun without letting us in on it. Man, you just about scared the pants off of me. Not cool, Kondo. This was all top secret. I'm sorry I had to keep it from you all. It was so sweet. Yeah, it does definitely put everyone else who left under scrutiny. It was a surprise, to be sure, but I was glad that we'd have Saito back with us again. I gave him a tentative smile, but he only sighed and shook his head. It's too early to feel relieved. The last 6 months in the guard have made it clear. Ito and his followers are going to take action against the Shinsengumi. Slowly sliding off this chair. What sort of action? Ito is going to expose the Fury Corps to discredit the shogunate. There's even talk that he's working with Satsuma to that end. If the existence and creation of the monstrous Furies was to become public knowledge, the shogunate's reputation would be irreparably damaged, and the Shinsengumi would undoubtedly suffer as well. Even I could predict that. There's more. Ito plans to assassinate the chief of the Shinsengumi. You mean Kondo? Yeah, he's the chief, bitch. Keep up. Kondo's face was tense, but he kept silent. He glanced over at Kijikata. The guard is moving to destroy the Shinsengumi. You've already heard about Sakamoto, right? Yeah, some crap about me being the killer. No, the other chief. Right. Well, you have the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb to thank. They've been spreading the rumor that Kyotaru Miura of Kishu hired the Shinsengumi, and that Harada put the sword in him. Miura insisted that he didn't do it, but there may be dumbasses who believe that rumor and may attack us. So, Saito's going to be guarding Miura for now. If it looks like he just left and then came back, it won't be too hard for Ito to put 2 and 2 together. I understand. Until this matter is settled, it is better that I'm not seen here. Here, Hijikata paused for a moment. The room was utterly silent. Every one of us could sense that what came next would be very important. Kashitaro Ito. It's not enough for you to expose the Fury Core. You have to try to kill Kondo too. He spoke quietly, almost to himself, as if sharing a final moment with a former comrade. Then he looked up, and when he spoke, his voice was like cold steel, the voice of the demon. It's too bad that it has to be this way, but we have no choice. Ito dies. I suppose you're right. It can't be helped. Kondo nodded, and that was that. The Shinsengumi would kill Kashitaro Ito. First, we'll invite Ito to Kondo's second home. I'll be there too. Once he's dead, we can use Ito's corpse to lure the rest of the guard and kill them. Nagakura, Harada, I'm assigning you and your divisions to this. Take care of it. Hey, Hijikata, who do you want me to kill? No one. You're staying here, in bed. You've still got that cough, don't you? You're sick. Saito will be here for a few days, so you'll have someone to play with. So you're telling me that you won't let me participate in the assassin of a person who is trying to kill Kondo? You're a real bastard, Hijikata. I love Soji so much. So petulant. It all seemed very calculated for murder. I hadn't realized I'd been sitting still, in shock, until I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder. Saito? This will be the end of the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. If we're going to return Hesuke to the fold, it must be now or never. Thank you for understanding, Saito, where my loyalties lie. Gasp! He was right. If they meant to kill the guard, that included Hesuke. I couldn't keep sitting still, so I ran over to Hijikata. Hijikata? What? What are you going to do with Hesuke? He's a part of the guard now. Isn't that obvious? We'll save him, of course. Nagakura said it. Oh. No. Wait. Oh, I guess I'm saving right now, guys. Hold on. Saving isn't a bad idea. But there is a way... Is it this? Is it this? Kuss. There is a way to go back. I just can't remember what that is. God damn it, Lisa. I'm pushing buttons. I'm sorry, guys. No, he fights us. He dies. What? My mind went blank. I couldn't contain my heart from how fast it beat. No! You can't mean that! My voice started to shake. You're lying, right? I mean, you've known Hesuke for a long time. He's your friend. Hijikata stood up as if he wanted to push me away. And he left the common room. Oh! Oh! You're actually going to order them to kill Hesuke? So, just because he left the Shinsengumi, are you saying you no longer care if he dies or not? Of course we care. Ah! I know that deep down, Toshi wants to save him too. There's no way he could live with giving the command to kill a comrade who was part of our family for years. Kondo appeared to be gripping his fist so tightly that it almost looked like he was bleeding. That alone said it all. I realized in that moment how much Kondo was suffering, how much each one of them was suffering, even Hijikata. I'm sorry for saying that. No. No need to apologize. It's expected. It makes me happy, quite honestly. I'm glad people care for Hesuke. I care for Hesuke! Kondo let out a slow breath and looked up at me and smiled. He turned to Nagakura and Harada and spoke in a low voice. I'm asking you, this is not as your chief, but as Kondo Isami. Let Heisuke live, and if you can, try and convince him to come back. Got it. His life is in our hands, huh? That is a lot of responsibility. What should I do? What could I do? I trust everything's clear. If you have questions, now is the time. Wait. Kondo turned around and looked very surprised. I haven't been getting any orders. I would like to help. This is a dirty job. This is nothing like the Ikeda Inn or the Hamaguri Rebellion. You really shouldn't be involved. It was true, this wasn't a patrol or even a guarding mission. This was the assassination of a former comrade and an attack on men who'd split from the Shinsengumi. I still wanted to help. I wanted to do what I could. It might be my last chance to see Heisuke. Please let me go. I won't get in the way. This isn't like anything you've done before. You understand that, right? We're killing someone who used to be one of us. As much as we don't want to, we might even have to kill Heisuke. Why do I always pick the one that makes me cry the hardest? I know. It's not something to be taken lightly. I knew that the Shinsengumi had carried out these sorts of black operations before. There was no way I could have stayed with them as long as I had and not known. But I couldn't just let them shoulder all the responsibility. Yes, how romantic indeed. I was done looking away until the deed was done. No more. Perhaps it's presumptuous of me to say so, but I consider myself a member of the Shinsengumi. And because we're going through this, I want to help everybody. Then you're determined to do this, I see. His face had lost its usual warmth. It wasn't anger or cruelty that it showed now, but the gravity of a general addressing his men. Tell me then, how do you intend to help? As I tore his heart from his chest, his last words was, "It was ours all, it was yours all along." It's beautiful. I hope it calcifies over and I can carry it with me in my handbag and write crazy poetry. I had already decided that I would convince Heisuke! There wasn't even... Oh. Kyoto was a city of many streets, some of them more quiet and isolated than others. Aburano Koji was one of these, and it was where Nagakura, Harada, and I hid with the rest of the men assigned to this task. They'll be showing up any time. We set out Ito's corpse as bait to draw the guard into a trap. There's no poetry in the journal. Not a single word. My teeth bit into my lips so hard I had to stop before I drew blood. If Ito had been allowed to live, he would have been a danger to the Shinsengumi. I understood that. But this... it just seems... Is this something that can be forgiven? You don't have to watch. Just look the other way. No. Whatever I might think of what we were about to do, this was my only chance to save Heisuke. Oh! It's already... Oh! Let me run. I couldn't look away. We sat there for... I wasn't sure how long, until finally we heard the sound of the guard approaching. Oh! Who's collapsed over there? Oh, Miki! Sir Ito, who could have done such a thing? Six or even seven of them rushed forward to examine Ito's corpse. Among them, of course, Hesuke. He hadn't noticed us yet. But the taciturn, downcast boy I saw in the street was nothing like the Hesuke I knew. Harada and Nagakura picked him up out. Harada and Nagakura picked him out of the same moment I did. Silently, they both closed their eyes for a moment in silent prayer. Let's go. Yeah. Shin, Sano. You're here too, Chizuru? I see. So you used my brother's body as bait, and were waiting for us to be next, huh? Such a shady trick, which is befitting for a group of peasants like you. Was it you who killed my brother? He just said their names so much nicer than I did. I'm not gonna yell, guys. Hesuke was drawn down by the cry of Miki, who in turn interrupted by the sudden report of a gunshot. What the? Is someone nearby? If he was hesitating, then it hadn't been the Guardians who'd fired. Was it the Shinsengumi? Alright, who's the idiot who fired that gun? Shiranui? Idiot. That's not very nice. Yep. Anyway, hello human. I'm here to play with you. Shiranui, Amagiri. What are you guys doing here? What do you think? We're working. Watching you idiots lure the bigger idiots from the guard into a trap. Oh, fuckles. He waved one of his arms casually in some sort of signal. Sanosuke. And me. Where did all these people come from? I'm a little surprised to see you've got so many men. Looks like they're from the Satsuma, right? The Satsuma? I heard Miki dubiously mumble from a distant location. I apologize for ambushing you. But we have our orders, and they must be followed. Orders from the Satsuma? For you, I'll buy that. But I thought your friend was with the Choshu, Shiranui. Don't tell me you've gone and switched sides, Shiranui. Unfortunately for you, the Satsuma and Choshu are buddies right now. Shouldn't you be more worried about yourself, though? Double ambush. As Shiranui spoke, the men behind him began to inch forward. I reached for my sword, but Harada stopped me. Keep your back to the wall and stay behind me. I'll kill anyone who gets close. From the rest of the Shinsengumi, I heard the sounds of hands tightening on hilts and swords being loosened from their scabbards. I swallowed. What the hell is going on? Someone explain. Wait, if you are from the Satsuma domain, do you mean to attack us as well? Huh? Oh right, you're with that guy. Ito, was it? Anyway, I hear we've got you to thank for Sakamoto. Did he mean the assassination of Ryoma Sakamoto? Then, were the Satsuma and the guard allies? Ooh, gun time. He shoots from the side, guys. Good job on that. Happy? Good. You can die now. Miki, watch out! Hey, you alright? Hang in there. Miki went to the body of one of his men, but the man seemed to be dead already. He glared at Shiranui, seething with contempt. You bastard, how dare you betray us, Satsuma dog! Just following your lead, boss. Didn't betray your old allies too, huh? Well, I seem to recall hearing something about how you spread rumors that Sakamoto was assassinated by Harada from the Shinsengumi. I knew it. So it was you guys spreading such dumb rumors, huh? We don't really need you anymore, but we do need to make sure you keep your trap shut. So it seems like the best way to keep you quiet is to make sure you're dead. What? Both Shinsengumi and guard were only moments from attacking when Amagiri's voice echoed from across the street. You are outnumbered. I cannot advise standing against us. And as such, I have a proposition for the Shinsengumi. What? Why don't you let us take care of the girl with you? If you do, I will allow you to leave unharmed. What? Listen here, Amagiri. You're not in charge of this operation. You can't train members of the Shinsengumi. Amagiri stopped the Satsuma vessel just by glaring back at him with a furious gaze. I think perhaps you misunderstand. I will follow the orders of the domain to the extent that I am able, but they are not paramount. But gunshot resounded again. The Satsuma vassals fell to the ground, and he was no longer moving. Shiranui blew smoke from his gun as it slowly rose from the barrel. Anybody else? If you can live through the first bullet, we might listen to what you have to say. How could he? To Shiranui, there were no enemies or allies. He was a beast that the Satsuma had only just learned that they could not control. Only 3 shots left. Alright, now we won't have any more rude interruptions. What is your answer? Will you accept our offer or not? Not even a breath disturbed the silence of Aburano Koji. The demons, the Satsuma, the guard, and the Shinsengumi all waited to see how I would respond. Well, you heard the man, Sano. What do you want to do? You really gotta ask? These guys are pretty pathetic. Even Hasuke's lame jokes are better than this. Hey! I love it when guys get all tough like that. Think you can beat all these men, though? At a motion, Shiranui and the Satsuma rushed forward, and a solid wave of men and swords that tumbled over the Shinsengumi and the guard alike. We'll save. Was worried about Hasuke. I could see Hasuke hesitate. Who was his enemy? He must be wondering. Todo! Help us! What the hell did you come here for? Hasuke regripped his swords, but... Hasuke! I called his name in desperation and ran up to him. I'd come here for one reason, and though our attack had hardly gone as planned, I hadn't changed. I love his voice. Chizuru, what are you doing here, you idiot? You're gonna get yourself killed. He shoved me around behind him, his voice a mixture of surprise and anger. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you something. My run through the fighting had set my heart to pounding like an angry drum, and my lungs burned. I took a deep breath. You have to come back to the Shinsengumi. Kondo, Hijikata, Inoue, Shimada, and Yamazaki, they're all waiting for your return. I miss you, Hasuke. I want you to come back, please. I can't go back. Not now. Ugh. Swords clashed and men screamed around us, but I ignored them. You're gonna get him killed too! I did what I did because I thought Ito would be better for this country than, well, better. I thought by leaving I wouldn't have anything to do with that serum anymore, that I won't have to sacrifice my comrades anymore. What the hell am I supposed to do now? I faltered in response to the intense sword battle, but I questioned him. Do you still believe that? I don't know. There's no way for me to tell. But when he said that he would have Sakamoto killed, and then make it look like Sato did it, it felt wrong, no matter how you spun it around. But Hasuke looked pained. He had a self-diversive smile mixed into that remorse, that looked remorseful. It hurt me to see him so conflicted. So did I fail? No matter how harsh and difficult it was for me, I thought I was making the right decision by going down this path alone, because it was for myself. Yes, now is the time. The time is now. We must know. Hesuke! Lately, I keep thinking about the time I spent with the Shinsengumi. The serum, the furies, all that stuff seemed to be a million miles away from me. It's so weird. It seemed like I could only remember the stuff that made me happy. I think about you a lot too. I'm sure I'm not the only one either. That's so. The clattering of swords filled the air like rain. I want to go back. I'd like to go. I would, but if I go back to the Shinsengumi, I don't know what I'm supposed to fight for anymore. What do you mean? What are you doing, Todo? That kid's Shinsengumi, kill him! Oh! Another member of the guard leapt at us from the side, his sword driving towards me. Ah, just then, dying together in battle would be the yes outcome. It would be pretty romantic. Just, no! Hesuke spun and drove the hilt of his sword into the man's stomach. The guard member lost consciousness and fell to the floor. Oh. Hesuke was in a state of shock, then let his eyes fall to the man doubled over on the ground. He almost seemed to move subconsciously. It was as if he thought he was inhabiting another person's body, staring at his hands incredulously. Todo, you bastard! Are you going to betray us now? Are you really going to turn your back on us to rejoin the Shinsengumi who murdered my brother with entrapment? Are you serious? Hesuke's shoulders jolted in response. As he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Sorry, Miki, but I'm a pretty sad excuse for a guardian. Ito was so smart. He has so many connections, and he always seemed to be ahead of the times. I followed him because I thought what he said was right, but... Hesuke slashed at the Satsuma warrior, one after another, as he protected me. But I've had enough of politics and ideals and all that crap. Loyalism, nationalism, none of that matters anymore. I don't care if I have to fight 100 men or 1,000 demons. He turned to look at me over his shoulder, and the grin on his face lit up like the sun. Ah! Here was the Hesuke I knew. It was the face of the Hesuke I knew so well. No matter what, I'll be there for you, Chizuru. Get the fan! JC, where's the fan? Any bastard that thinks he can come after you will have to get through me first, because you're what I'm fighting for. Oh gosh, I'm crying. And with that final triumphant yell, he brought his sword up to face his foe. They handed it to me wrong. Oh, it's so big! Oh, it's so nice though. No! I ordered the rare miniature! No! Oh, shit. Ugh. Okay, and with that final triumphant yell, he brought his sword up to face his next foe. With that, the battle began. Countless Satsuma poured into the narrow street, and in an attempt to choke us with sheer numbers, Nagakora's sword flickered and leapt, utterly unconcerned with any odds. Alright, all you've got is numbers. Anyone who wants to die, come at me. Rah! Blood spurts and screams came from everywhere. I got next, Victorian samurai boyfriend. Oh, just began. Damn it! I'm not going to let you guys kill me. I mean, he's pretty, but he's gotta go, guys. The battle was so intense that I couldn't keep up with who was battling whom. Ha! You should have just handed over that kid and begged for your life. Don't think I'm going to let you die that quickly. Ha! Careful, Shiranui. There's a lot of people here. If you shoot, you're more likely to hit one of your own men than me. Damn it! I can't get in a good shot. You're all useless. But more than that, you're all in my way. He kicked out furiously at nearby Satsuma's shoulder, who had the misfortune to stumble into Shiranui's line of fire. This is just... wow. I knew Nagakura, Harada, and Hesuke were skilled swordsmen, but I'd never seen them fight the way they did that night. Several of the Shinsengumi soldiers made a wall around me, and I watched as the captains tossed foes aside like they were made of straw. Then, from across the battlefield, I heard Amagiri's basso rumble. You mean to challenge me on your own? I suppose your courage is admirable. Yeah, well, unfortunately, you're a little short on men, so you're just gonna have to fight me. Even in a single combat, you were unable to defeat me. This situation is hardly more ideal. What do you intend to do? Even swords weren't enough to stop Amagiri's fists, and Hesuke, with his small frame, was driven back. Chest? The Satsuma pressed in, looking for an advantage. Damn it! No, he's surrounded! Hesuke's plight distracted me from my own, which was a mistake I regretted almost immediately. Ah! Before I realized what was happening, two Satsuma soldiers burst through the Shinsengumi line, charging straight toward me. Ah! Watch out, Chizuru! No one was close enough to intercept them, and I was nowhere near strong enough to fight off two men on my own. They were closer now. No time to dodge. Do I die? I heard the wet slice of two blades cutting into you. I don't die! It doesn't hurt! When I looked up, the soldiers were dead. Oh, thank God. A sword pierced the chest of one straight through the heart, and the other had taken wakizashi through the throat. Ah! I spun towards Hesuke across the street. Seems like I made it. He was smiling, his arms still extended from throwing his swords. And he grinned like he was happy to see me safe. Hesuke, why did you do that? He'd never even stopped to consider if my life was worth his own. Your courage is impressive. Amagiri's fist moved horribly, painfully slow. But foolish. No! Without his swords, Hesuke had no way to block, and his throw had left him with no room to dodge. No! My ragged scream echoed across the— Why? Why? Why do we always pick these ones? My ragged scream echoed across the battlefield. Hesuke! Hesuke! Damn it! Out of my way! How could they be so strong? Retreat! Retreat! Go! Go! They're running? First they get in my way, and then they just give up? I guess there's no helping it. Harada's blade became a snarling, monstrous whirlwind of death. This game is tough. And before I knew it, Shiranui and their demon allies were pushed back until they finally withdrew. Damn it, let's retreat for now. I will never forget tonight. I will personally send all of you to the Shinsengumi men straight to hell. Miki and the remaining guardian soldiers all scrambled to their feet and ran. But all of that seemed so far away from me. No! The street of the Araburo Koji was painted with red. Everything before my eyes seemed to melt into together, coalescing into deep pools of blood. My hands were smeared with red. Yeah, Mickey lived very lame. The words Hesuke coughed were red. Ha! Looks like I screwed up. Don't talk, damn it. Shit, this is bad. His internal organs could be affected. Harada, his injury, let me see it. I ran over to Hesuke to check up on him. I was praying to myself that it'd be fine. Even if it looked bad, it couldn't be serious, right? If it's not as if a strike like that was gonna be fatal to someone like Hesuke. Oh my god, his eyes. I just looked into them because they're looking right. I repeated those things over and over in my mind. I mean... Cough. Damn it, Hesuke. You can't die here. He was really going to die? No. You can't die, Hesuke. I just couldn't get myself to believe this. But when I saw it unfold in front of me, I realized I couldn't deny what was happening. I was shivering, but I reached out to wipe the blood desperately from his cheek. Why are you leaving this picture up so long? His eyes were rolling back into his head, but he looked up at me, shaken and cold. Oh, God. Sorry, I wanted to be there for you a little longer. Screwed that up pretty good, didn't I? No, Hesuke, I wasn't ever so important that you should have given up your life to protect me. So please save your strength. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. God damn it. Let's carry him to the compounds. We can't do anything for him here. Sanosuke. Oh, could you run, Chizuru? Yes, of course. Damn it. Ah! We ran through the night, Nagakura and Harada bearing Hesuke's bloody and beaten body back to the Shinsengumi. Oh, shut up, Secret Soup. I hope you choke. I hope you choke on cereal. I hate you so much. Shit. Every minute felt like an hour, and with every second, my heart felt that much closer to tearing in half. Oh, the assassination of Ito and the destruction of the Guardians and of the Imperial Tomb was later known as the Aburanu Koji Incident. Both the Shinsengumi and the Guard were surprised by the sudden appearance of the Satsuma troop and by the demons who accompanied them. Both parties had fallen. Oh, so rude. Oh, God. Both parties had... What is going on? You could feed him your blood. Yeah, that would be great. If my blood... If I was a vampire, I'm a demon. Yeah, Rain. Now that would have been excellent. Even a Rain of Hesuke's fucking soup. I swear to God. I know where you sleep. Both parties had fallen for the Satsuma trap. And the battlefield was, damn it, you, was thrown into confusion. During the fight, Hesuke was mortally wounded and had no choice but to drink the water of life and become a fury or die. Ah! No. It's better than him being dead, but this is the last thing he wants. Yeah, JC's cat. I hope. I hope you all choke on your laughter.
I've been waiting shit.
I appreciate you. Oh, see, he's fine. Yeah, he's so fine. Oh god, okay. As the Battle of Aburano Koji was taking place, the headquarters of the Shinsengumi came under attack from Chikage Kazuma. The monstrous thing my father had made was slowly devouring the Shinsengumi. How long before the water of life swallowed them whole? Tight. Alright, this is where we're gonna pause it, guys. Bye. Oh, God. Well, that happened, guys. We're gonna stop it there for now. I hope you all enjoyed that.
Watching you cry, right?
Yeah, watching me cry. Thanks everyone. I hope you, I'm glad that I can put on such a good show. Yeah, so, that was, tonight's content. I hope we had a good time. I guess this is the part where I tell us to thank the founders. So thank you, Yev, Nomad, Doomsayer, DLP, and BACKBLAZE for keeping the lights going and supporting me and playing out my silly fantasy dramas and crying because the semi-fictional, semi-historical boy with the turquoise blue eyes or green eyes, died for me at the hand of my favorite demon and then had to drink my father's heinous blood water to now become a monster. But I'll be there by his side forever and for always because I am nothing if not loyal, and Hesuke is my one true love in this game. So thanks everyone, have a good night.